To see all my live daily content, become a Patreon member. Click on the link on my YouTube channel at the Off-Grid Tiny House. Click on support this channel. It'll take you to the Off-Grid Tiny House page on Patreon, or you can just Google it. Sign up and join in. Thank you. Hey guys, Rob from the Off-Grid Tiny House. Now, in my previous videos of making the more concentrated coconut oil, you guys seen all that. This is the follow-up video. So remember, I put them into mason jars here and then put them in the fridge just to harden them up. And you can see on the bottom of these mason jars, it's a little darker, a little more, there's some little particulate in there, but I leave that in because that's all medicine. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to open up this guy here, and just to see how potent this mixture is, I'm going to combine it with some just some leftovers of the white, just plain coconut oil with some, it was a lighter infusion, so it wasn't very powerful. So now this stuff's pretty tough, even though because it's just right out of the fridge. You can see it just coming off in flakes with the spoon here. What you can do, and what I do later in another video, is I leave the mason jar out for a few hours, just so it has a little bit more thawing time. That way I can get larger chunks easily with the spoon, and no other issues like having to just slowly get little flakes going and stuff like this. So it is what it is. And yeah, so I just put a bunch of flakes into that container, and then what I'm going to do is what you're looking at here is my induction cooktop, and it's sitting on top of my mini fridge. And what I normally do is I leave stuff out on top of the mini fridge, like just off to the side of the induction cooker there. And the heat that the mini fridge creates just naturally as it runs, it has to get rid of that heat. So I use it to just slowly melt these containers, or the contents of these containers, into a liquid so they mix, and then I just cap them and throw them back in the fridge, or leave them out to just harden up at room temperature a little bit. But yeah, this is just adding, I'm adding a decent amount of flakes in there. It's like I said, it's way better to just let the mason jar leave it out for a few hours or half a day just to thaw, because it's pretty difficult doing it right out of the fridge. That way you can just put your spoon in, get a giant chunk, and then throw it in, and you're basically done. So that's what I do in a future video coming up here shortly, so stay tuned for that, guys. I can confirm though that this mixture, by adding it, the potency, increasing the potency here, is basically the perfect amount. It's hard to gauge the amount for each person, but this was the perfect amount for me. Just gives you a light relax, and that's basically all you need. To see all my live daily content, become a Patreon member. Click on the link on my YouTube channel at the Off-Grid Tiny House. Click on support this channel. It'll take you to the Off-Grid Tiny House page on Patreon, or you can just Google it. Sign up and join in. Thank you. Hey guys, Rob from the Off-Grid Tiny House. So here we go. I left the um, concentrate out for a few hours just on my fridge there. As you can see, I'm just getting the containers ready. So what I'm going to do here is I'm basically taking a container out of the fridge. I'm just chopping it in half with the spoon. And I'm just taking about half of it out and going to split it up into a couple different containers there. And then I'll add about half of the concentrate into the weaker coconut oil infusion there. So a little messy, but not too bad, since the coconut oil is semi not really frozen, but pretty it's pretty tough stuff. Like I broke it into chunks there into the one container, so I split it up into about 3 little containers. One's going to be super potent because there's only a little bit of coconut oil, right, as you see here, and then the rest will be that concentrate with the infusion. And then we got a half one here, and another half one on the other end there that I'm going to show right here, just like so. All right. So I'm going to do these one at a time, obviously. Take my mason jar, take the spoon, and carefully dig out a chunk out of the concentrate. And here we go. We're going to take about a teaspoon, or yeah, that's about a teaspoon size spoon, chunk into one of the half containers. I'm going to try to make it as as equal as I can. And the reason why I'm doing like half portions and such is I don't want to go full on with the just pure concentrate. I want to just have it as a nice relaxant. I find if you overdo the high THC indica, um, it's not good. You can have like paranoia, nightmares, and stuff like that. You got to find a good balance for yourself so you can use it on the daily as a medicinal preventative. And doing it this way, the amount lasts you a long time, which is nice. Helps you sleep, helps you relax, helps with any pain, arthritis you may have. My uncle actually had to get his knee replaced, and he's still rubbing this stuff on his knee, because it really helps him out, gets rid of the inflammation, helps him with his healing process there. So he's loving that stuff. Swears by it, actually. He's like, that's awesome. And it's not too greasy for him at all. And now that I'm getting all these little containers built up and filled up with the concentrates, I'll show you here in a bit what you do afterwards, because that's kind of important to know. You just don't have them sitting like there is with the chunks in there. I sit them. I explained this in my previous video just briefly, but I sit them on top of my mini fridge, just like this, in the containers, and at room temperature. And now what you're seeing my induction cooktop. That's a mess right now with the oil on it, which I'll clean later. But just beside it is the top of my mini fridge, and I set these items on there, and they just passively heat up, because when the fridge cycles, it obviously gives off some heat, not very much, but a decent amount, enough to melt the coconut oil and liquefy the the contents of the container all into a liquid, and then it's all mixed in. I give it a little shake later on in the video. You'll see that, and that means it's all mixed up, ready to go. So then you can just leave it out and use it, or put it in the fridge to harden it up. What I did with the more liquidy containers is I put the majority in the fridge, and then I left one out just on top of the induction stove, because when it's up on the induction stove, it has a chance to harden up because it's away from the heat from the top of the fridge. And I just leave it out at room temperature. So there we go. I placed everything on top of the fridge. You can see the green surface there. That's the color of the fridge. And I just set those basically on there for about a day. They liquefy. I shake them up, and you'll be seeing that here shortly. So I just throw the concentrate back in the fridge for storage for when I need to do this again. And here we go. The magic of video. They have liquefied, as you can see here. Give it a little shake. There she goes. Now there's a little bit of particles in some of these. I'm not worried about it. I rub it on the skin anyways. It's all medicinal, so no biggie. And then we got one that's a straggler here, so I left him out to liquefy, maybe a couple stragglers. But that's it, guys. Pretty sweet. To see all my live daily content, become a Patreon member. Click on the link on my YouTube channel at the Off-Grid Tiny House. Click on support this channel. It'll take you to the Off-Grid Tiny House page on Patreon, or you can just Google it. Sign up and join in. Thank you. Hey guys, Rob from the Off-Grid Tiny House. If you guys been following the alternative media, Bill Gates has been talking smallpox for the next possible pandemic. This natural plant here, purple pitcher plant, apparently has some benefits in order to fight and cure smallpox if you take it, fairly quickly, which is, that's pretty good. But having this plant around is kind of more important than that, and getting your hands on it. So here we go. I'm just going through different sites here, showing you some information. It's native to North America. It likes cooler, wetter weather, so you can definitely grow it yourself. And the Native Americans here, guys, check this out. They figured it out back in the day to save their people from smallpox that was brought in by the foreigners that came in and took over, basically. So, I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of all kinds of medicinal plants from the natives that they used. And it's a real shame that we don't have a lot of access to that information. Now, one thing I'm kind of leery about is how to process this plant for medicinal usage without harming yourself, doing it properly, because I don't think it's considered a flower per se, but in the next little website clip, that I show, it kind of tells you exactly how to use it, which I'm going to be showing here shortly. And I'm still leery about that information though, unless you've seen how a lot of people process it and how to run it. Um, you know, Apparently you just eat it like you would a lettuce. You can ingest it. So now the FDA did make an injection from this particular plant to treat different things. Apparently, it treats urinary tract infections and other things. There's the chemicals in the plant do this effect on the body, so it's pretty interesting that way. Um, what else? Yeah, so just read along here, guys, because pretty interesting stuff with Bill Gates talking all this crazy about, oh yeah, this is pandemic one. We're gonna have part 2, 3, and all that. And I'm sure you heard if you followed the alternative media that oh, just a few vials of smallpox were left out in some random facility, um, and it's supposed to be stored in like deep underground facilities. So pretty obvious, pretty coincidental that he's talking that, and then this stuff just shows up out in the blue into the public at some facility that's probably not even equipped to handle that kind of stuff. Um, and this is the corruption going on currently within all governments of the world and the scientific community. Like, come on, guys. Unless you got blinders on, you know, it's crazy. So here we go here. Um, Pitcher plant is another name. Here's all the different names of this plant, so you guys can look up how to get seeds and maybe have a little seed vault of this plant. Try growing one or a few. Try eating a very small piece. Like, I'm no medical expert or botanist or anything, but I have been dabbling, and you could always try a small piece of the plant and see what it does. Um, they're saying here you just eat it. You can also probably use the leaves. Well, you eat the leaves, and you for the roots, I'm sure you'd have to stew them, boil them down into like an infusion, and just drink the liquid type of thing. I would assume you'd only be taking small amounts of the liquid because then the roots would be a concentrate. Obviously, you want to really rinse out the roots heavily before doing so, and on and on and on. Um, and I'm assuming you just put anything that you want to infuse in liquid. You just do it at a simmer. That's why when they tell you um, when you're cooking stuff and you're boiling it, all the nutrients goes into the liquid, because everything's kind of infused out of the carrots, for example, or broccoli or Brussels sprouts. If you put it in boiling water, most of the nutrition ends up in the liquid as opposed to the carrot or the broccoli or the Brussels sprout that you're eating. Um, so just keep that in mind when you're doing infusions. But good information out here, and this was just recently discovered in the alternative media to possibly treat and help you guys through smallpox if we do get that. To see all my live daily content, become a Patreon member. Click on the link on my YouTube channel at the Off-Grid Tiny House. Click on support this channel. It'll take you to the Off-Grid Tiny House page on Patreon, or you can just Google it. Sign up and join in. Thank you.